Hello, this is Mark from My Keys to Music. Thanks for joining me on this video. Today I'm talking about the Nord Electro 6 and its ability to imitate the pipe organ. And now this imitation is not limited to the Nord Electro 6. In fact, it works with the Nord Electro 5. It also works with the Nord Stage 3. But right now, the Nord Electro 6 actually features two pipe organs, so they've one-upped the game, and I'd like to explore Pipe Organ 2 today and use that in conjunction with the synth engine to mold the two together and create a much more elaborate pipe organ tapestry, if you will. And there's some other techniques such as dynamics and some other things that you might not necessarily realize you can do with the Nord keyboard and really enhance the performance. So let's get started and we'll work on this together. So the first thing, you don't necessarily need to be on any one program to get started with this. I just happen to be on A11, Royal Grand 3D here, and then I'm going to initialize the Nord keyboard by holding the Shift button and pushing Program Init, which stands for Program Initialize. And I have several I can choose from here, but I'm going to pick Organ. And what that does is it resets everything on the Nord keyboard to be oriented around you focusing on the organ engine, which is exactly what we want today. So what does that mean? It means that it'll turn off the piano engine, it'll turn off the synth engine, but it will also orient your effects so that they are ready to go with the organ settings. As you push the effects button here, it will automatically light to organ. So it's a handy feature. All right, the next thing you want to do is you want to set your organ engine so that it actually does play the pipe organ. So I'll do that over here. And I've got mine set to pipe 2. If you can see that. There we go. All right, now I'll leave this over here and we'll talk about the organ engine specifically. So you have these things called drawbars, also known as stops. And these drawbars allow you to mold the harmonics of the organ engine. And this is really set up in a traditional way. And that's what gives the Nord keyboard some of its specialties in terms of emulation, is because not only have they emulated the raw sound of the pipe organ, but they've introduced the drawbars to also imitate it in that fashion. So for this first demo, I'd like to just take all the drawbars and push them all down, except for the first one here, which I'll have all the way pulled out. And you can verify that here. If you look at your display, you'll see that it mimics that. There's also numbers above that represent 1 through 8, or 0 through 8 rather. And there's 9 drawbars, and these numbers are an easy way to communicate back and forth to say, okay, what are the drawbar settings? Well, it's drawbar 1 through 9. So the first drawbar here is an 8 because it's pulled all the way out. The second one is a 0, and the rest of it are 0. So this would be an 8, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That would be the setting for what we have here. Now let's just listen to that. Okay, so that would be for a quiet type sound. I mean, I only have one drawbar out. I really haven't done anything difficult or stretching its wings in any way. What I'd like to do next is add some reverb, because it might really enhance it, make you feel like you're in a cathedral of sorts. So I'll push the reverb on here, and then I'll change it to the hall setting, which sounds appropriate for, let's say, a large cathedral or maybe a worship setting on a large, massive scale. So hall, and I'll put it around 6 or 7. Let's listen to the difference now just by adding the reverb. I haven't changed anything with the bottom sound or the fundamental sound. And you can hear it reverberate through the hall. Now let's go back to the organ engine. And I want to talk to you about the fact that the organ engine itself has basically 2 presets that make it easy for you to go back from setting A to setting B, or preset 1 to preset 2. So by default, with this light not illuminated, you are in preset 1. And when you do that, the drawbars will indicate on this window here. Now when you push preset 2, it does in fact switch the Nord keyboard to be on preset 2. But the thing that can be very confusing at first is that when you move the drawbars, you don't see any indication here. And you might be wondering, well, what's going on? What's so different about preset 2? Why is this broken? In fact, it doesn't even change or save any of your settings on preset 2. So you might think it's broken. The key is you've got to hold the preset button in order for it to save the preset 2 settings or to really make to notice the effects you're putting on there. So if I hold the preset button now, and you'll see it blinking. Now when I move the drawbars, now they're showing up here in the display properly, and it's working as it needs to. So what I'd like to do is keep this this first drawbar all the way out, and we'll move the remaining drawbar somewhere in the middle, somewhere around a 4 or a 3 in combination. That's fine. And on preset 2, let's listen to hear how that sounds with the drawbars about halfway out. And with that reverb and combination of that, you really do have a pipe organ right out of the box. Effortless in terms of setup and really amazing. So when you switch between preset 1 and preset 2, it's essentially giving you an easy way to go from a soft part of the song to a louder, more advanced. You could even think of it the difference between a verse and a chorus. Now you'll notice that when I played that, you kind of heard that preset 2 sneak in there real quickly, and it almost stomped on top of the first preset, and that's because the preset button is not a seamless transition, so you have to really be careful in your performance when you go from preset 1 to preset 2. The other parts of the Nord Electro 6 are in fact seamless. When I go from program A to program B, let's say a piano to a string setting, and I move the program dial, it will be seamless between the two, meaning I can essentially hold the sustain from one sound and it'll seamlessly transition into the other. It won't stomp on itself. But that's not the case for presets, so that would be a feature request if I were to have one, is that I would love the preset between A and B or 1 and 2 to be seamless, but they aren't. So if I hold and play a C chord here in that solemn setting, and then it immediately goes to that. So just be careful of that in your playing. And speaking of that, now is a perfect time to introduce the fact that we can introduce a sustain pedal on my pipe organ. So I'll hold the shift button and push this button up here to invoke the sustain option. Now I have a sustain pedal connected, which is great. And now what I can do is I can hold that slow part. I have my hands free, which makes it easy to add things like the sample synth, and I can push buttons and change effects without really affecting the organ engine. All right, now the next thing and the most exciting thing, the thing I really want to talk to you about, is the fact that I can introduce the synth engine on top of the pipe organ. And yes, I can mold different things like string sounds and make a nice tapestry that way. But what if I were to introduce yet another pipe organ in the synth engine on top of the traditional pipe organ in the organ engine? Let's see what that can do. So I'll push on the synth engine now, and I'll hold the shift button here and go to list view, and this will list all the samples that I can play. And if I look very closely, I can actually set it to cathedral organ. And I actually have 2 of those, cathedral organ 2 and 3. I'm going to go to cathedral organ 3. So let's listen to that now. Amazing. Now what's interesting about introducing the synth engine to play the organ, besides the fact that it really does sound awesome, dynamics. And dynamics is the fact that if I push on the notes harder, push on the keys harder rather, I'll hear a louder note, giving you the ability to provide more expression in your playing. And this is something that is not possible using the traditional organ engine. This is only possible with the synth engine. So watch what you can do when you have those dynamics, and I can play quietly or louder. So that gives you some nice options. I'll turn the reverb down just a touch. Now let's use both in combination and see what kind of sounds we can make. So first we'll start with that solemn organ. Then I will turn on the synth engine along with preset 2 all at the same time, and we should have a blow your hair back type chorus going on here with this particular sound. In addition, I'm going to lower the register of the organ engine by 1 octave. I do that over here using this button. And that allows me to have more of a bolder bass, which then really emphasizes what's going on here. So again, I'll start with that lower octave, just the organ engine, just on preset 1, no synth engine. I still have the reverb on, but those are the only things I've done here with the built-in pipe organ pipe 2 on the Nord Electro 6. Now hold the sustain pedal. That way it gives me a chance to invoke the synth engine. Still I hear no difference. I'm going to immediately let go of the sustain pedal, push it to preset 2, and play the chorus. Listen to that reverb. I thought what we might do is fire up the Nord Stage 3 and show you some of the similarities and the differences in this setup. So first I have it on the Royal Grand 3D. I will turn on the organ engine and make sure I set it to pipe 2 there. Then for my original preset or preset 1, I'll use my digital drawbars this time and move everything down except the first drawbar here on the far left. Then on preset 2, which by the way on the Nord Stage 3 you don't have to hold the preset button, you just push it once and it automatically locks in. And for this I'll put all the drawbars out as it is here. So that's the organ setup. I'll turn off the piano engine, then I'll turn on the synth engine, but I'll reset the synth engine because I don't want any of the predefined settings to take hold. So I'll push the shift button and push sound initialization and then push OK. That clears the synth engine, but I still needed to play that sample. So I'll go to the sample library here, then I'll hold the shift button and show the list. It should be located somewhere around 180. Cathedral Organ 3, 180. Okay, so that's all ready to go. So I'll turn that off and I'll go back to preset 1 on the organ. Okay, also make sure you have your sustain pedal on. So I'll push the sustain pedal. Now you could save that if you want to your settings, but for now, let's just play this in the similar fashion that I just did, but this will be on the Nord Stage 3. You saw the difference in setup, but you'll be surprised to hear pretty much an identical soundscape. I also have to turn the reverb on, so let me do that very quickly. You can't see it here on the camera, but I'm putting it to Hall 1 bright, and my reverb is around a 6. So let's use that same technique where we'll start with preset 1, no synth engine, then we'll go to the synth engine on in preset 2, using the sustain pedal to transition between those two. Sustain pedal, synth engine on, preset 2 while not holding the sustain pedal. You can even lower the octaves on both of those and then just play that low C. If you want to introduce dynamics on the Nord Stage 3, you can use a variety of options. You can change the envelope settings here, and you can also add velocity as its influence over the envelope. Now with my attack on 0, my decay all the way up to the sustain option, release around a 3, and velocity at 1, 2, 3 here, you will see introducing the sustain pedal can really make a difference. But essentially, those are some of the techniques I like to use with the organ. In fact, these techniques, the synth engine with an organ on top of the organ engine, was actually introduced by another video, which I'll put down below as far as the inspiration for this idea, and I wanted to explore it more and share it with you. Thanks for joining me on this video. I hope that you learned a couple of things, or at least got an introduction to the Nord if you don't already have one. It really is amazing, the pipe organ emulation, and I'm not a particular fan of the pipe organ sound as a general rule. I'm more of a synth guy from the 80s, but this pipe organ is somewhat inspirational in terms of the way it sounds, and that on top of that gorgeous reverb, it really does make you feel like you are owning an entire cathedral at times, especially with the headphones on. So hope you enjoyed the video. We will catch you on the next one.